Reading D&D Aloud with Ben Riggs. Episode 30. The similarities between God and your D&D group.
Greetings one and all to Reading D&D Aloud. I am controversial D&D historian Ben Riggs, and I'm flying solo today. I wanted to get a quick episode out to everyone to update you on a couple changes that are happening. Firstly, we are taking a break from the podcast until the weekend of November 15th. I have turned off Patreon payments, so no one will be charged for October. Frankly, this podcast has been much more successful than I could have anticipated when we started this, and I cannot overstate how much we owe this community for its support in making that success possible. That said, we want to keep what you like and add more of what you love about the show. There will be some rejiggering. If you have any strong opinions about what you like or what you don't like, you can email me at admin@readingdnd.net, and that's the and in D&D is spelled out. I'd love to hear from you if you have any opinions. But I don't want to just post an episode that is just me saying that. I want to give you a little bit of something else here. So I'm gonna read an essay from the Vampire the Masquerade Second Edition Player's Guide from the 90s, titled Role Playing and the Hidden God by Sam Inabinet, which I hope I'm pronouncing right. It's Inabinet. I suppose it could be Inabinet for French. But I remember reading this in high school, and it blew my mind. It is not centered around Vampire the Masquerade, really. It could be true of all role-playing games, but it blew my mind. I don't think I've read it in probably 30 years, but I'm going to read it aloud to you here now, and let's see how it's aged, shall we? Role-Playing and the Hidden God by Sam Inabinet. As far as I can tell, just about every religion and belief system in the world contains, at its deepest and most esoteric level, the myth of the hidden God. To put it briefly and flippantly, this myth describes how God or goddess or Tao or the universal self or I am that I am or the all-being master of space and time and dimension or Azathoth or what you will, or allow me to risk offense for the sake of brevity and just say God and he, created the world as a means of dissecting, examining, and evaluating himself. All conscious entities are therefore God's own internal organs of self-observation, whose duty it is to experience the broad diversity of the phenomenal world and report back to the central unity for debriefing. And this is now me talking. This thought right here was what totally blew my mind in high school. Like I realized, now that I'm older, I'm like, well, this is a standard piece of Hindu thought, in at least my understanding of Hinduism, which is, I took one class, that's it. But still, this is standard Hindu thought here, that we're all like little bits of God that have kind of broken off from the big God. But at the time, I was like, it just blew my mind. So let me continue. That's as far as we've gotten so far. Is, we've all broken off from God and we're here to experience the universe that God has made for us. But to make this gimmick work, you see, God has to forget that he is God, to limit his all-encompassing universal self to a finite individual self, or else the rich experience of the world is reduced to a collection of dull, dead data, and the vibrancy of personal involvement is lost. While all acts of creativity recapitulate this process, role-playing games are unique in that they make it immediate and accessible to us mere finite creatures. All the more widely known forms of storytelling From the simple anecdote to the fully enacted drama, assume some degree of distinction between the storyteller and the audience. Indeed, in most modern forms, the originator of the story is rarely present when the audience is experiencing his creation. The immediacy of role-playing rests in the fact that creator and author are one and the same. Although one member of the group, the storyteller, might bear the heaviest burden in the act of creation, that creation is not complete until activated by the presence and participation of the players. For the purpose of this essay, I shall consider the gaming group as a single creative unit, a collective hidden god, which manifests itself in the collective world of the game. I might note at this point that in the original Hebrew version of Genesis, God is referred to in a plural form, Elohim, the Lords. One of my favorite Sufis, Ibn Arabi, goes into elaborate detail about the relationship between God and the world, between unity and between the unity and the diversity. Ibn Arabi's schema can best be visualized as the relation between the center and the circumference of a circle. At the center is God in his most absolute and unified state, radiating equally in all directions to define his creation, the vast plurality of the circumference. Each point on the circle maintains its own unique relationship with the center by its radius, which Ibn Arabi subdivides into stages of manifestation, thus forming concentric zones of archetypical categories. Without enumerating these zones, I shall liken them to the game system itself, the means by which God, the players, descends into creation, the chronicle. Chronicle was the vampire term for campaign. In the beginning, there were a bunch of people sitting around a table with paper and pencils, dice and books, entities of pure potential, transcendent and unmanifest. And they said, "Let there be a game." And there was. Yeah, okay, I'm skipping a lot, like the writing of the games themselves, but you can probably see how the analogy carries over in that direction as well. The innermost circle, what Ibn Arabi would call the realm of the divine names, determines the broadest range of possibilities. What game shall we play? Vampire or werewolf? Oh, and I should mention here, this is Ben talking now. In the text, the question, what game shall we play? The author, Sam, capitalizes we, again, kind of making it an equation between the gaming group and the power of God. What game shall capital we play? Vampire or werewolf? Call of Cthulhu or Monopoly? Moving outward, we eventually arrive at the realm of similitudes, Yasad, the actual blueprints of individual existence, detailed chronicle notes, maps, character sheets with all the blanks filled in, and then the big bang, that moment when the potential becomes actual. Quote, and I assume this is the quote of a dungeon master now. Okay, you're all sitting in the tavern, and this guy comes in and says, end quote, God has forgotten he's God and thinks he's just you, me, and everyone else. And again, to high school me, this blew my mind. First, again, because I was just unfamiliar with the idea of God breaking himself up into little pieces to explore the universe, and therefore purposely forgetting he's God, so it becomes meaningful. That blew my mind. Then hey, that's very much similar to how a role-playing game works, where we are all the creators of this game, but when we sit down and play the game, except for the game master, you pretend that you're not the creator. You pretend that you are just, in the game itself and in the fiction. Just like God, if he was going to break himself up into little pieces and explore the universe, would forget that he was God to do that. Um, so that again just blew my adolescent mind, and it's still even at the age of 46 now. I'm like, oh, that's a cool parallel. That's kind of neat. Let me keep reading. I'll leave the rest of the process, the total involvement, the romance, adventure, intrigue, the ensuing self-revelations to those more capable than myself. I have to confess at this point that I have never actually attained that wonderful state where I was so involved in the game that I forgot I was just a player. However, I am quite familiar with the phenomenon of having a creation take on a life and consciousness of its own. Within me is a hulking, dim-witted merchant marine from Yorkshire, a veteran of two or three game systems and genre changes, who is always ready to fight his way to the surface of my otherwise wimpy, bookish exterior. Another such prodigal brainchild is Ibn Ruwiyat, a contemporary of Ibn Arabi's, who has his own take on all this hidden god crap in the form of a jinn he claimed to have trapped in a nutshell. It seems that, after clawing and kicking and belching fire in futile attempts at escape, the jinn succeeded only in polishing the inner surface of the shell into a perfect mirror. Everywhere it looked, it saw only itself. The extent of its universe was now its own reflection, inverted and writ large. My point, if I actually have one, seems to be something like this. The religions and philosophies of the world exhort us to return to our Creator with what we have learned, to climb back our radius to that central unity. The art of the role-playing game affords us a unique opportunity to hide the God of ourselves in the world of our own creation, to experience the full cycle of this immanence transcendence game. Just watch out for those moments of Satori. Satori here being Japanese for a moment of enlightenment. Just watch out for those moments of Satori when the universal self awakens to its own divinity and tries to figure out where the hell it put the money for the pizza. And that is the end of the essay. Uh, Again, not having read it in 30 years, I think it's actually aged pretty well. Um, a thing I am obsessed with is the importance of the role-playing game as a medium, its novelty, the fact that people have not yet fully, I think, awakened even to its potential, even though role-playing games are bigger than they've ever been, and I have more seventh and eighth graders interested in D&D than interested in rock and roll. Let me take a sip of coffee. A thing I would point out here is even if you are an atheist, there is a lesson, I think, in this essay. Um, Oftentimes, when atheists read religious texts, if you take God and you just kind of replace the universe, it still kind of works. Um, because oftentimes when people were making observations about the greatness of the world and using the word God, you could simply slide the universe in there and the observation still maintains its truth. And I suppose the atheistic reading of this essay, just to be deviant about all of this, the atheistic reading of this essay would be that we are incontrovertibly pieces of the universe, and we are the pieces of the universe that have woken up to examine the universe that we ourselves are a part of. There is no border between me, the human, and the universe itself. I am a part of it, and it is me. So you could certainly say just as comfortably, hey, when you sit down and play a role-playing game, you are the universe coming to know itself. You are the universe seeing and hearing and living and dying and everything. Because we are the organs of the universe that can do those things. The only organs of the universe that we know of that can do those things thus far, unless AI has woken up in some Seattle data farm and we just don't know about it yet. Anyway, I hope that that is something to keep people's wheels turning, and to get thoughts moving and ideas flowing. And even if you thought it was terrible, well, I hope it was terrible in a new and unique way for you. Uh, I look forward to talking with all of you in the future. Thank you to all our listeners, viewers, and supporters. And with that, I will see you again in mid-November. Be well, everyone. Bye-bye.